What is up, survivors? We are back again today with another mod review. This time is actually going to be an update to a review that we already did. This review is going to be for the Kraken's Better Dino mod. So there's a lot of things that have changed in this mod since the last time we've done it, and some things that we didn't touch on. I'm primarily going to go through the stuff that was updated, as well as some little highlights that we might have missed the first time around. But we'll have a link to the original video that we did in the video description, as well as a link to the workshop of this one in the description as well. So Kraken's Better Dinos, if you haven't watched the first video, which I would highly recommend, is a complete overhaul of the animals in Ark and how they work. What I have in front of me is just a bunch of dinos, just a couple that we're going to talk about and the abilities that they might have, along with some other features that are added in the game as well. So we pretty much went over in the first video essentially what this guy is, and this is your crafting station, your dino workbench smithy. Now this is going to make all the special saddles and all the special items, and it also doubles as a preserving bin where you can make some of the stuff that comes with this mod. Again, you want to check that first video out, and maybe even go back and check the workshop link out for sure, because there's a full guide on everything, and everything that we're going to talk about and everything else that we might have missed is going to be in that link. To talk about just some of the few animals. Now this was one that I think was there when we talked about this mod the first time, but this changes hyenodons. So hyenodons typically come in one size, and that's it. So with Kraken's Better Dinos, they come in different sizes, and you can see these guys are like, this is a 0.9, this is a 0.8, it's a little bit smaller, and this 1.3 is actually the largest version. Now the largest version you can actually ride. You can actually ride these guys, which is pretty cool. The alpha still has the same alpha settings, but the other cool thing about these guys is you can tell them to sit or stand up. And when you do that, it should apply to, yes, it applies to the herd. So when you tell the alpha to sit or stand, the group will actually sit or stand. You can still pet them, still put saddlebags on them, but you can actually ride the bigger ones, which is pretty cool, I like the fact that they come in different shapes and sizes. There's a few animals out here that do the same thing, but a little bit of diversity, and you can still breed them like normal and all that good stuff. But yeah, you can tell these guys to just sit down, and the rest of them kind of do the same thing. The different shapes and sizes is what looks cool. Definitely more of like a packish sort of look. I really like that. Going around, I guess we can kind of start this way and go or go all the way over here. We'll talk about just some of the creatures that we have here. Some of these creatures we did touch on in the first video, but I kind of wanted to go over them real quick just for specific reasons. So this guy is the Stitch. We all know that I suck at pronouncing things. These guys are kind of like Packies, a little bit bigger. These guys should be noticeable. So back in the day, I don't know if they still do it now, but Ark did it in an event where you could dig up dinosaur bones and actually make different skins for some of the animals. And I believe this one was actually on there to transfer the look of a regular Packy into this guy too. So he has the same variation of like a trike charge, but it's not quite as good. It's not like as good as the trike charge, but it's definitely still there. You tame it just like you would tame the normal Packy. There is a aberrant version of these guys as well, so definitely pay attention to that. But basically, kind of like a Packy, just a little bit better. Still ride him around like normal. He still gets the charge bonus, does the whole kick, and takes off running. You can harvest some flint and thatch with these guys when you run into stuff, but it lasts for a pretty long time. Definitely a little bit better, and they do torpor and damage when they ram things too, so this guy could be used as a taming mount to actually ram some stuff, a support mount for doing stuff like that. Next we have the Stricosaurus. Again, you guys know I can't pronounce anything in here. I definitely picked the wrong game to make a bunch of videos on because I can't pronounce anything that's in here. Anyway, this guy. We're gonna try this, right? Styracosaurus. Close enough. Anyway, so this guy is basically what the trike is currently. So it still gets a little bit better movement speed and a little bit better turning radius, but it's still basically it tames just like a trike and more or less pretty much acts just like a trike, and you can have the normal variation of these guys or the aberrant variation of them. One of the main reasons why this guy is in here, because the normal trike got a total overhaul, and I believe we talked about this guy in the first video that we did. So the trikes are 50% bigger now, so this is significantly bigger than what they used to be. This is about the size of what a normal trike is normally, and this is the Better Dinos trike. So significantly bigger trike. There's a tech version of this as well, which is hanging out over there, and we'll look at him. And then he gets actually 50% stat increase on all of his stats, which means he's bigger, better, faster, stronger trike. So always better. Does actually reflect some of the damage that's shot in the front area, but I believe the current trike does that to a degree, but this one does it as well. And you can also opt to get a small platform saddle for these guys. So you get a small, you can use a normal trike saddle, or you can use this small platform saddle on top of them too. What's next? The Carquinos. So the Carquinos is breedable. You can actually breed them in these guys, and they also get a platform saddle as well, which I thought was pretty cool. And the Mammoth is another one that actually gets a platform saddle. So these three are actually the new creatures that get platform saddles. Like, so the Carquinos, the Trike, and the Mammoth, in addition to all the other creatures that would normally get platform saddles. Now, the other cool thing about the Mammoth is with the platform saddle on him, he can actually craft all the wooden structures, and he crafts them a little bit faster than normal, the furniture as well. Still gets the weight reduction, still harvest berries, and he can actually still harvest fiber as well for you now, too. The Allosaurus, one of my favorite animals in the Ark universe, got a little bit of a TLC as well. Not a whole, well, there is a whole lot, to be honest with you. So they made him quieter, so he's not nearly as loud when he's walking. He used to have really, really heavy stomps. His stamina is a lot better. These guys don't go through stamina nearly as bad as they used to. That used to be one of the things that plagued these guys, was that their stamina would drain so quick and wouldn't go back up very fast at all. The other thing to note is you can actually stand up on the back of these guys now when you dismount from them. They get a slight boost in damage. So the damage looks like it was increased to about 45, and then 35 for that crazy alpha attack that does the bleed as well. Over here, we got a Tech Anklo. So as in opposed to the normal Ankylosaurus, which definitely got an overhaul in this mod as well, with damage reduction, and a bunch of other options, some weight reductions as well. You get the Tech version as well, which looks pretty gnarly. I really like this guy. Still uses the regular Anklo saddle, and he's still hanging out here. So the Anklos anyway will reflect some of the damage, like melee damage brought at him, kind of like the Arthroplurus do, but not quite as badly. But the Tech ones actually have a 3% chance of spawning, and again, kind of treated like Tech animals. You'll get Tough Hide when you kill these guys, and Tough Hide, again, we talked about in that first video, is used to make some of the specific crafting things in here. Let's talk about this guy. This is the Tech Griffin. So the Griffin already got an overhaul, but now you have a Tech Griffin variant as well. This guy definitely wasn't in the first. These two definitely, actually, I think the majority of these we didn't cover in the first video or were not available yet. So the Tech Griffin. So the Griffins in general, now you can actually, they'll have genders and you can actually breed them as well. They remove some of the particle effects, like the FPS killing particle effects when the dudes are, when they're just hovering in mid-flight with the wing flapping. The dive velocity got increased on these guys. The base damage got increased on these guys, and you now have the Tech Griffin ability, the Tech Griffin version of this as well. Tech creatures definitely get more damage, more health. They get better stats all around, like they normally would. But this Tech Griffin looks so awesome. I think it's turned out really well. This looks really, this is really awesome Tech creatures. Probably one of my favorite Tech creatures now. I just think that it looks neat. Anyway. Tech Trike, kind of like how the Tech Trike is out there now, same kind of things, but it still kind of works like the Better Dinos Trike. You can put a platform saddle on it, it gets some better benefits, it harvests a little bit better, and gets more stats on top of being a Tech creature as well. So the Tech creatures kind of work like regular Tech creatures. You're going to find them at higher levels. They're going to have better stats, so Tech creatures better than their normal counterpart by far. The compies. So these guys are pretty interesting. So I never really, I don't know, I really dove into these guys ever. It might be one of those things where I just actually mess with the next time I use this mod though. So these guys, you can still pick them up like normal. The problem with compies, for some crazy reason, I don't know if they ever actually fixed it with the regular, but the problem is when these guys lay eggs, they would lay them at where they like originally spawned at, and they wouldn't like lay them like when you like tamed them and moved them. It was a pain in the butt to get compy eggs. With the new kibble system, it doesn't matter too much, but it was always a little bit of a headache. One of the cool things is now that's changed. So they actually spawn, they'll drop eggs right here where they are. The other cool thing is when you have these mounted on your shoulder. So when you mount them on your shoulder just like you normally would, and they're just kind of hanging out. Two things about this. So while we got this guy on our shoulder, and this applies to all shoulder pets. When you have this mod on any of your shoulder pets and you're trying to get into the inventory of the shoulder pet, you can hold in the left Alt key and then hit your inventory button like usual, and it'll actually open up the inventory of the creature that's on your shoulder, making it a lot easier. You don't have to throw the creatures off your shoulder to try to get in their inventory anymore. They're just right there. The other cool thing about these guys is, so if we hit G on these guys, he does a little cry, and he'll summon a bunch of compy minions in here to help you out, which may seem a little silly right now, but definitely could cause a bit of a distraction. I feel like this would be hilarious to use in caves, to take a compy in here and be able to call a bunch of buddies in. These compies will range in level, but they'll follow you around for a little while. They'll stick around for 2 minutes before they despawn, making these guys pretty much perfect. But they'll summon a group between 6 and 11, and it looks like we actually got a lot of them this time around. What is this? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9 that time. So between 6 and 11 compies just showing up. Now this does have a 5-minute cooldown on it, so you can't sit here and spam them. And the other thing that you can't do is you can't like pick that one up and pick this one up and hit G again and expect another. Oh, that's a lie. You can. You can totally do that. So if you have multiple compies out here, oh, this has potential to be hilarious. So you can actually use this to your advantage and summon more in by throwing one down and cry. I don't know if it was intended to be that way, but you could definitely have a little compy army here all of a sudden. That's hilarious. And you can notice the ones that are in here are called compy friends. You can't really do anything with them. You can't associate with them, and they'll get random levels. No inventory access, nothing like that. And like I said, they'll stick around for about 2 minutes before they despawn. But if you have a couple of these guys, you could summon a little army of these critters in, which is kind of hysterical. My only question is, I wonder if they still lay eggs, right? I wonder if they still lay eggs if they're sitting here for 2 minutes. I guess it depends on what your server settings are set to. But anywho, so one of the other guys I do want to talk about is the Oviraptor. So the Oviraptor got cool, really cool stuff. So first and foremost, you can turn the egg boosting on and off, and it doesn't need to be on wander and able to do that. You can just literally toggle it on and off so that you don't have to weight it down or put it in a cage and put it on wander. You just sit it somewhere and you can do that. The other things that it will do, and you have access to turn these things on and off, is you can tell it to either collect fertilized eggs or regular eggs and just stuff them. So that way it'll hold on to all of them for you. Now, it won't actually stuff it in his inventory. As you can see, the inventory is empty here. But when you enable these options, he'll make a little nest down here that you can actually get inside of. And as you can see, I got 4 compy eggs in here. So this little nest will actually pull all of the eggs and stick them inside of here. And as you can see, they stick in here, as well as some of the bio oil. It looks like it does collect some of the things that animals normally produce, with the exception of poop. So the tech animals actually will poop out bio oil, and that oil is used for some of the Kraken's Better Dinos items specifically. But it looks like it'll actually pick that up too. I like this option. It kind of makes it so if you're not running all the additions on S+ or not using all the different automated tools on there, this little guy does quite a lot of it. Between that and the dung beetle that automatically collects dung when you're using Kraken's Better Dinos, kind of makes a lot of your automated stuff a little bit easier. But with that being said, that's kind of the main creatures that I wanted to talk about. There is a slew load of almost every single creature in this mod got tweaked in some way, shape, or form. So definitely check out the link to the workshop description. There's a full list of all the stuff. These were some of the highlights that jumped out at me. And again, some of these were just ones that we might have missed last time, but we're not done yet. So with this mod, you'll actually be able to change these settings in the INI files. So if you don't want to have this feature on there, you don't have to input any of these things. But if you do want these features, you do have to change them in the INI files. And there's a guide to do that on their user guide on Kraken's Better Dinos on the workshop link. But essentially what it does is it spawns in, well, it doesn't spawn in, but it gives a random chance to animals. Instead of spawning in at full maturity, full adult sized dinos, it spawns them in as adolescents, babies, or whatever. First and foremost, the parents will be heavily protective of the little ones. As we can see right here, we got a Bronto, small Bronto, and then we got a large Bronto. So basically, we can passively tame the small Brontos, but if we get anywhere near this one, the big Bronto is going to get mad. He's going to come after us. Now I have admin commands on, so I'm really not concerned with it, but just to show you what happens. If I get close to this baby Bronto, I have the option to actually put the normal taming food in the last slot and tame these guys passively. Any baby dinos you can actually do this with. Now the red eyes that showed up on the bottom right of the screen by the GCM icon indicates that the parent of said dino has now found me and is not happy. Now again, I have admin commands on, so it doesn't really matter. But this gives you the opportunity to actually come out here and tame animals without actually knocking them out. You can actually find like this one, like a baby one, and tame it passively. You still have the same option like normal. You can knock the grown-ups out and tame them like you normally would. Or you could take whatever you would normally take to tame a Bronto, put it in your last bar, and tame these guys passively as well. So the options are there, and I like the aesthetic of having not every creature out here is full grown. You have some of them that are smaller and some of them are bigger. Now you have full range to the INI files when you change this of the likelihood of these guys spawning, how often they're going to spawn, whether or not they even work at all. But that's not that's just part of it. The other part of it, and I believe I saw them over here somewhere. Where were you? I think they were over here. They were over here earlier. Here we go. So some creatures will actually just lay fertilized eggs. They have a chance to do that. So what we have here is a creature nest with a scorpion, a fertilized scorpion egg in it. So you can just hijack a fertilized scorpion egg and roll out. Now, obviously, if I do this, this is going to make the scorpions mad. And obviously, you could still tame these guys the same way. It kind of makes every creature kind of operate sort of like the wyverns or the rock drakes or the Dionysus, like any of these guys where you can just find the fertilized eggs and just pick them up, and they'll have a chance of doing that. Again, you'll be able to change these things in the INI files. So sometimes these eggs, you can make these eggs spawn more commonly, not so commonly, and all that good stuff. Now, this won't affect any of the like creatures that already lay eggs. And I think we got another one over here. Dimorphodon. Dimorphodon laid an egg over here. That's pretty cool. Not even sure where the Dimorphodons are at. That's horrible parenting right there. I don't even know. Where do they go? Huh. Just lay eggs and leave them, huh? That seems real responsible. Huh. Anyhow, so you'll have those options to turn on through the INI files. If you want to use these things, you're going to have to add certain things into your INI files. If you're running a server, it's going to be in your game user's INI. If you're running single player, you can still throw them in your single player INI as well. The problem with single player is that if you're doing that, you also want to turn off hibernation mode. So typically in, well, look at that. We got a turtle egg over here. Huh. Man, sorry, squirrel moment. So if you're using this mod in single player, you want to make sure that hibernation is turned off. Now, what hibernation means is that essentially everything within my render distance, the animals that are within my render distance are the only ones that are moving, and it puts everything else outside of that in like a stasis thing where it actually won't move or do anything or create anything. It'll just sit still until it gets within range of me. Now, with single player, the problem with that is that it removes, it conflicts with the mod in the order to discern whether or not the mod discerns whether or not an egg is going to spawn or a baby is going to spawn. So you want to be able to turn that off. Now, it's a simple setting to do that, a quick Google search to do that about how that works. Essentially, you change the launch options in your Steam as for Arc, and to be able to turn that hibernation mode off in single player. Definitely check that part out. Again, I would highly recommend checking out the user guide for this mod as well. Everything is very, 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 very well explained of how it works and how it operates. So useful. But anyway, all in all, I mean, this mod was already awesome, and then it got awesome updates. It was already awesome, and then it got awesome updates, which I think is super. The idea that eggs are just out here is interesting to me. Making even if they're low-level eggs or not eggs that you want, makes things like kibble a little bit easier. And then the idea of being able to just grab the eggs instead of actually having to grab the creatures themselves and breed them is kind of an interesting concept. And it's a little bit more diverse, and it just makes the immersiveness a little bit better when you start seeing full adult dinos and as smaller dinos roaming around. I like that idea. I think in general that's a good play, and it works really well. I've been running this for a little while on our testbed server, and really no errors. The only thing that I would say you probably want to watch out for is if you put this mod on and change the INIs and then start your server up or start your single player up, you probably want to do a dino wipe when that happens, just because the changes might not take effect until you do. But that's it, guys. All in all, I already love this mod, but I wanted to go back because it's been a while since we touched on it, and there were a whole lot of updates done to it. So I wanted to run through a couple of those. To be able to run through this whole mod would take hours and hours. So definitely check out the link to the Steam Workshop in the description of the video, and also check out the first video we made to give you a little bit more insight as far as the special items and the special cooking and stuff. But that's all I got, guys. If you liked the video, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell so you can see when the next videos are coming out. And feel free to follow me here and follow me on Twitter, and also check out our Discord because we stream right here on YouTube Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And until next time.